Yo, what is going on, everyone? Today I'm going to be doing just a slightly different video. I'm going to be talking about my favorite mouse pads this year so far. It is the first quarter, I believe. I think we're into the second quarter now. But there's been so many new mouse pad releases and a lot of interesting ones and a lot of kind of okay ones. And I want to go over all of my top ones that I recommend for most people. And if you're not really sure on what mouse pad you want to get, this is going to be a really good guide for you to find your perfect mouse pad. If not, delve your toes into something that is a little bit more niche of a topic, unlike gaming mice or keyboards. So first, I just want to get this out the way. None of these are sponsored. These are all my raw opinions of all these mouse pads. And these are all mouse pads that I personally put on my top list of pads that I constantly switch in between. So first, we're going to start with the Sky Pad. This is a 500 by 400 mouse pad. It is glass, only glass. And there are better, cheaper options on the market now. You have the Pulsar Super Glide. You have the upcoming Padsmith pads. You have the Razer Atlas. There's a lot of options on the market now. And I've heard there are options better than the Sky Pad. This is the only one I've actually ever had a chance to use, and I do have two Sky Pads, so it's kind of even more this is the only one I've ever tried, and it's really good. It's kind of inconsistent when it gets really hot outside and really humid. It feels like your arm gets really stuck to the mouse pad, and it's really irritating. I do have some sleeves. These were sent to me by G-Wolves with the HSK and the HTX 4K. That I will be doing a review of this mouse very soon. But with the Sky Pad, I do recommend wearing a sleeve if you live in more humid environments. It is very frustrating, if anything, when you're aiming and then it feels like your arm is locked in place because you can't move it. So that will be kind of the bottom of this list. These aren't in order, but this would be kind of a bottom of the list thing where it's not for everyone. It has a very high price tag going into it, but it's one of those things you would never have to replace ever again. All right, so this one is my next top pad. This is flipped upside down so you can actually see the logo. This is the Spire Loke. It is low-key. No pun intended. This is one of my favorite mouse pads that ever exist. It's really underrated when it comes to just performance. It is very consistent. I've had no issues with it feeling muddy on some days or anything. It is absolutely absurd how consistent this mouse pad is when it comes to the price. You can get this mouse from Spire's website for, I believe, $29. Don't quote me on that, and they do have an Amazon store. I will have links for all the mouse pads in the description, by the way. But this is just an absolutely amazing mouse pad. They only have one size. It's 500 by 500. This is just one of those underrated mouse pads that not everyone will try, but I feel like it's one of those ones that you should try if you are looking for a new mouse pad and you're not sure where you want to go. This is a medium balance kind of speed. I'm using G-Wolves stock skates right now, and it has that it's quick, but it has a lot of control to it. This is more of a hybrid pad with a polyester surface to it. It does have a rubber base, so it can move around, but in-game, you're not noticing this. I've used this mouse pad for months on end, and I've never had a moment where I'm like, oh, the mouse pad slipped, so I missed a shot. It's just that good. And even with other skates, these are the Jade by X-Ray pad. It still has a really nice balance speed, has a low initial friction, and a really high, a lot of stopping power. So it feels quick but balanced. It's absolutely insane how good this mouse pad truly is. The next one, again, I'm going to have to do upside down because this one does come in a much larger size. But this is the InfinityMice Infinite Control. This mouse pad isn't released yet, but when it does release, will absolutely take over. It is probably my favorite mouse pad this year that I've ever had a chance to use. It is 490 by 490 and is similar, almost one-to-one, to the Saturn Pro in almost every single regard. It has under the surface stitching, a very nice soft base, similar to stuff like the Artisan Soft. It is very plushy, very nice. It feels like you're playing on a cloud, like a very large cloud. This seems to be the answer to the large cloth pad that everyone wants. It is insane. When it comes to the speed, as you can see, it's very controlled. It has a low amount of initial friction and a lot of stopping power. This is almost one-to-one to a Saturn Pro. It's just the only difference I say is that this feels slower than a Saturn Pro. I do notice that it is just slightly slower when it comes to my other control mouse pads like the Lethal Gaming Gear Jupiter, the GSR, or the Saturn Pro. The Saturn Pro being a really medium balanced control pad. It is very slow, but not sluggish. And this, I feel like, falls under to the slower side of balance control instead of like that sluggish slow, like the original GSR, not GSRC. The Saturn Pro is probably like my top pick for best control mousepad on the market. As you see, it's very slow, very controlled. Only comes in 490 by 420. I think 490 by 410, one of the two sizes. But they are releasing a V2 version, which supposedly fixes a lot of the issues that the first Saturn Pro had. Like my Saturn Pro has this wavy issue where the sides kind of like wave up, and it's very frustrating sometimes, but it doesn't happen all the time. The base on it, like as you see here, like it's like it starts curling up. It's something that they did fix in the newer Saturn Pro from what I heard. I do have the new one coming, so we will have a review on that when it does arrive. But the base of the mousepad is made out of a natural Japanese poron, and it is just absurd. It sticks to your desk without even trying. Like just like an hour, not even an hour of use, like 10 minutes of use, and your mousepad is pretty much glued to your desk. Or you can put a little bit of water, and it will just not move at all. Going back to the InfinityMice mousepads, they do have a custom poron base that with water, it sticks really well. It sticks almost the same as Japanese poron. It's just not as sticky without water, if that makes any sense. It's closer to like a Chinese poron, similar to something like the Mirai. This is the Freefall SV Base Control Plus. It is by far the best mousepad I've ever used, like without question. Even after my review, this has still become one of my favorite mousepads that ever exist. It is a control. It's like a hybrid control mousepad. That's what I like to describe it as. It's similar to my Saturn Pro when it comes to speed from personal experience. I did watch a review from Jaku over on Twitter where he said it's similar to the Hayate Otsu. So I feel like that's a better comparison because he actually has one. But I don't have a Hayate Otsu. I have the Saturn Pro and the Zero Mid. And this falls in between both of those where it's nice and balanced, but it's not too fast. It has that abrasive surface that might be bad for sensitive skin, but it's still really good if you're looking for a mouse pad with that perfect consistency, and you'll never have to buy a new one. This one uses a silicone base instead of a rubber base, so in-game it doesn't move at all, and it's a really firm base. Like pretty much if you see, do I have something? Here, let's take a G-Wolves dongle. You literally can't press into the mouse pad. It's that firm with a cloth surface. It's just absurd. And this mouse pad, I believe, they have other retailers for different countries, but it's mainly US from Lethal Gaming Gears and their site directly. It's just that good of a mouse pad. And I feel like this deserves to be #1 mouse pad this year. They do have a 500 by 500 surface coming, and they do have a fix for the stitching that I did mention in my long-term review. But this is just one of those mouse pads that if you're looking for that consistent end-game mouse pad, this is the pad to get. And when the 500 by 500 does come, it will be the mouse pad that everyone will be talking about. It is that good of a mouse pad. All right, and then the final mouse pad is going to be kind of like a sleeper mouse pad. I would say it's a bit overpriced, but I feel like for the money, it is a really good mouse pad. This is the Superbeings Labs Momento. It is a hybrid mouse pad, hybrid speed. It's similar to the Aqua Control 2 or the Lethal Gaming Gear Venus, but I feel like this does everything right that I dislike about those mouse pads. And I don't know how to explain it. The Lethal Gaming Gear Venus is kind of like that mouse pad that everyone recommends, but you're that one guy that's like, hey, I kind of dislike it. That's how I feel about the mouse pad just fully. I don't like it at all. I feel very inconsistent playing on it. Same thing on the Aqua Control 2. I feel very inconsistent. I feel like I'm not the best player. But this mouse pad here, it's pretty much a clone of those mouse pads, but I feel like they did something that made this mouse pad feel very consistent. I genuinely, when I say I hate hybrid mouse pads, I genuinely despise hybrid mouse pads. Things like the Artisan He and the Aqua Control Plus, just stuff like that, that abrasive in-between speed and control, I've always despised, and I will always have that pure hatred in my heart for hybrid mouse pads. But this just does something that the rest don't, and I'm not really sure how to explain it because it's literally just a clone. So I'm pretty sure I could replace it with the Aqua Control 2 or the Venus, and most people will not be able to tell the difference. But for me, this just feels like a different playing experience. I feel consistent. I feel proper playing on it. It is 490 by 410. I do believe it does have just a standard rubber backing like most other cheaper mouse pads, but just this feels like a proper good mouse pad. So yeah, if I were to pick a mouse pad to be like mouse pad of the year, I would probably isolate it down to what you want in a mouse pad. If you want your mouse pad to be controller balanced, if you're looking for sizing or colors, all that plays in a part to what you would find to be the best mouse pad for you. But for me personally, The mouse pads I would call mouse pad of the year would be the Infinite series by InfinityMice. I just feel like for the price, these are $35 mouse pads. I feel like for the price, nothing else on my desk currently competes with it. This is a Saturn Pro clone with a very nice custom pour-on base. As you see, it has the Infinity logo on the bottom. And it has a very nice large size. And it's only $35. Or I think the 490 by 420 is $35. The one that I have, 490 by 490, is $40, I believe. And I do have a code Stubby with the InfinityMice. This is not like a, hey, buy this mouse pad to pay me. I just genuinely think this is a good mouse pad. This here, the Freefall SV base, is one of my favorite mouse pads that ever exist. This would go into a top 3 ever to ever exist ever. It is just amazing. The hard base is kind of jarring at first, but once you get used to it, and it's just consistent, no issues, easy to clean. When the 500 by 500 size comes out, it's going to be amazing. Like, this is just one of the best mouse pads I've ever used, ever. And I just can't recommend it enough. This would be my top mouse pad ever. Like, this would probably be the number 1 of this list, being the best mouse pad I've ever used. The Zero is kind of that weird in-between for me. It's not that good, not that bad. It's kind of like it's overpriced, but I feel like I understand why. It's artisan. It's proper quality. The stitching's good. The base is good. The surface is consistent. But it's just not like the Saturn Pro for me, where the Saturn Pro is just an amazing mouse pad. Nothing wrong with it. Zero issues. It's probably been my favorite mouse pad I've ever used, and I still pull this out over every other mouse pad I own. This is like the one that I pull out when I say, hey, I need to play consistently. This is the one I pull out alongside the SV base. So again, if I were to do this in a list, this would be a top pad alongside the SV base, where I feel like they're both really nice, balanced control mouse pads, but this is a bit slower than the SV base. The SV base is a bit quicker, but has a lot of stopping power. That makes it feel like these are like two separate, but two of the same, if that makes any sense. The SkyPad is a very hard sell. It's just a top mouse pad. I feel like nothing really does what it does, outside of the fact that glass is now becoming very popular. But I feel like the consistency that I've had on this mouse pad is very I feel like some days I play like absolutely amazing. I go positive match MVP all my games. And then other days I'm doing 1-17. This is a true story, by the way. I went 1-17 in a ranked match. This is just one of these mouse pads that I just can't recommend to everybody. But if you can find it for a good deal, you can find the original SkyPad, like the white one that I'm using here. You can find this one for like 60, 70 bucks online if you look in the right places. And when it comes to the limited drops for the SkyPad, I feel like they're just not worth the extra money. I know they did just do a drop with the 404 Sora, and it was like $20, $30 more than the original SkyPad for the design. And as much as I like the shiny Sora, this is this is one of my favorite mousepad designs to ever exist. It is so sick, and nothing else I even own comes close to how sick this looks. I just feel like the tax you pay for the SkyPad is like Apple tax, where I feel like, or Final Mouse tax, where people are charging more for essentially just a sheet of glass. And I don't really fully stand by that, as much as I like some of the designs. And then finally, the Momento. It's just one of those mouse pads where it's hard to recommend because it is $40, and it is literally just a clone of the Venus or the Aqua Control 2. But this has been one of my favorite playing experiences that I've ever had a chance to use. It's something that I feel like it has been done a million times over, but I feel like this one just did it right, if that makes any sense. It's really hard to like explain because I really hate the Venus. Like, I truly do not like the Venus. Out of all the Lethal Gaming Gear pads, the standard Venus is my least favorite one. But yeah, that should be it. That should cover everything. These are my top mousepads of this year. This is a bit of a longer video because there's a fair few amount of mousepads, but I do feel like this should cover most questions. If you do have any other questions or have any questions about certain mousepad you want to know about, just ask me in the comments. I will respond to 99% of comments because I'm not like an egotistical YouTuber. But yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. Leave a like if you did, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, like more tier list style videos, like my favorite mice or my favorite mouse pads or my top control picks or anything like that. I do have a really big list for mouse gates coming up, so be excited for that. This is something that will be the end-all, be-all for everything you'll ever need to know about mouse gates, and I will be constantly updating this list, so be hyped for that. I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.